Welcome to the It Is What It Is podcast. This is your host, Michael. Today, I kind of want to talk about three interesting topics. The first one is about general health and wellness. As I kind of get older in life, I notice that maintenance is super important to your overall well-being, and a lot of the small concepts of needing to adjust your perspective are a function of what you do as maintenance every day. So, to be a little bit more specific, I think that whatever habits that you develop and that you maintain or you currently do, whether they're good or bad, really, really affect your outlook and perspective. And I think that kind of illustrates why this is the loneliest generation ever, is that I guarantee you, and I'm definitely included, a portion of everyone's habits nowadays, whether you're old or young, is doom scrolling to a certain degree. And the thing is that it really, really, really messes with your dopamine, and it really messes with your hormones. And to a certain degree, it really, really messes with your sleep, because most people use it before they go to sleep and then immediately when they wake up. And I think that essentially what this is doing is removing your desire and need to seek or hunt. Because if you are both complacent and happy and entertained and you're never bored, why would you go out of your comfort zone and explore or try something new? So this kind of segues to the second topic of a little bit of a take on advice and or value that I can add to you. I really advocate for the idea of a algorithm cleanse. And what I mean by that is, whenever you have the time, whether it be like on TikTok or Instagram or whatever app you use, just without watching, obviously you're going to be looking at it, but without actually watching the content, I want you to just notice and be aware of and just scroll through the first 50 videos within your feed. And I just want you to take a look and notice and see what type of content pops up out of that population of 50. And you don't have to look at every video for the entirety, just for a second or two. Look at the creator, look at the title, look at the topics, and just see what's unconsciously being fed to you. And potentially it's really helpful. Potentially it could also be destructive, right? And I think you'd be very, very surprised to see what you see. And after you just scroll through that first 50, which should take less than 2-3 minutes, just think about if someone were to see that topic over and over and over again constantly, how it would affect them in real life. And this is where I think it's really, really important to do an algorithmic cleanse, is that these large tech companies quite literally spend billions of dollars hundreds and hundreds of resources and hours and man hours and just time and bringing together the smartest people in the world to get you hooked, right? Like their goal is to increase engagement and time spent on the app and reoccurring usage. Rather be sort of just a cog in the wheel and just be mindlessly fed whatever it may be. Be really cautious, because I think that in itself it can have a very negative effect on your mental well-being, your mental health, and just your mindset and perspective in general. I mean, I think it's pretty evident within like the political divide that we have today. It's pretty evident in the loneliness epidemic. And it's pretty evident in just how Gen Z is a completely different culture, and they have completely different norms than any other generation that has ever existed. So once you go through this exercise, just ask yourself, like, do I like what I see? And there are 3 recommendations that I think are useful in doing this algorithmic cleanse. The first one is to, and this is the more extreme example, is to take your account, delete it, and create a new account, or you just create a new account in general. And then you'll be surprised what it's like to have a completely clean slate of generalized recommendations. And you can easily do this on YouTube by creating like a new branded channel. You can easily do this, on TikTok, Instagram, by just creating a new account as well. And I think that is probably the best way, although the most extreme way, such that you can be cognizant and curate a new algorithm from scratch that is actually beneficial for you. Now, the second way is to use the tools that are available to you within the generalized social media ecosystem. So, for example, you can go to YouTube and you can, on the top nav bar where it shows you all these different topics, you can scroll all the way to the right, and there is a new to you filter where you can basically get recommended a completely new set of videos, which is pretty cool. Additionally, Meta or Instagram recently rolled out a algorithm topic-based filter where they use AI to basically tell you what topics are typically recommended to you, and you can basically add your own topics or remove your own topics. Now, the problem with this compared to the first extreme example, right, which is just a lot of time and effort, is that this method is a little bit imperfect, as in you won't be able to really control or really fine tune exactly what you see and what you don't see. And like I said, using the tools that these larger tech companies provide for you, these tools are not meant to prevent engagement, right? Like if one team said, oh yeah, I'm gonna roll out this tool to protect users, but it means we're gonna like lose how much people watch our videos or like our videos or whatever it may be, it would never, ever, ever pass, right? So there's a very, very clear conflict of interest when you use like the preset moderation tools within these social media ecosystems. Now, this is the step that I do, and this is what I think is probably the best way of doing it, is by pruning your feed manually. And it sounds really time consuming, but I think this is probably the most quick and most efficient way of doing this algorithmic cleanse. So in the same way where you looked at the 50 and you scrolled through it and you realized, what you're actually being recommended, what topics you're seeing, I would recommend that you do that same process, but whenever you now see a video that you don't like, literally go to the settings portion and either block that user or say, I'm uninterested in that topic. But even sometimes that will not actually prevent you from being recommended those things. As mentioned, they're not incentivized to reduce engagement. So doing that actually is the soft way of really pruning or fixing your algorithm. And it might work for some niche content within the algorithm, but you're very, very likely to be recommended that piece of content or that type of content or that topic over and over and over again, maybe less frequently. But the real way to basically prune it individually is, and this is maybe a little bit intense, but it's the only way that the algorithm will actually change based on the settings that are internal within these tech companies, is to report that content. And I know that this could potentially hurt the creator that you're reporting, but most of the reporting done is one, filtered through a large privacy and safety team, and they will only really be punished if there are a lot of people reporting it and there are ways for them to filter it out. So typically one isn't that bad. But if you ever report content on a specific video, I can guarantee you that social media company will never ever recommend you that same video again. So reporting that video is actually the strongest tool possible. And you might have to scroll through maybe like 20, 30 videos, but by the time you do this exercise, you'll have a completely new curated feed to your true interests. And there could be a case made for searching for content actively that would then be recommended. So let's just say like you really want to start exercising, so you start like manually looking up exercise content, right? But like I think that defeats the purpose of the algorithm, where if you just naturally look at content, you're naturally going to be recommended to it. So I guess that's an additional way to do it. But again, sort of recapping it, right? You either can start from scratch and just curate your own feed. You can use the internal moderation tools within the company or the social media platform that provides to you. And again, I think the first one is probably the most extreme, but also very effective. The second one is probably the least intrusive and least friction, but also probably the least effective. And I really, really recommend the last one, where again, you either block the user, dislike, or say not interested to that content. Again, it differs between the different social media platforms, but more realistically, reporting that content, it's a bit extreme, but if you report it once, you won't never, ever, ever have to report it again. Whereas if you say dislike or whatever, it'll take quite a while for the algorithm to catch up. But the second you report something, guarantee you'll never see that again. So that is one method where you can change your perspective, change the way you perceive life, change your relationship with entertainment and your dopamine and your nervous system and life in general, which let's face it, right? This generalized recommendation that you should just, never use social media or just get off the internet is very, very out of touch, right? Our lives are so ingrained with technology today that your work, your profession, your life, your friends, your family is integrated in some way within technology and social media. So I think that that idea is really, really unreasonable, or that advice is also very like out of touch. So I really, really recommend that everyone at least attempt this. Maybe you scroll through the first 50 videos during your like test phase and you like everything you see, and that's great. Maybe you don't. But I think doing this exercise every so often, whether it be like once a year or every couple of months, is really, really important, because it's really useful to be aware of the type of content that is being pushed to you. So for the last topic, I want to talk about PayPal. And I want to talk about it because I used to work at PayPal. But more interestingly, I was looking at the news today and their stock dropped by 20%. And they ousted their CEO, who they recently brought on like 2.5 years ago. And they ousted the previous CEO before that because PayPal is doing so terribly. And I find this so interesting because PayPal is like one of like the longest standing companies. You hear about the PayPal mafia. You hear about how a lot of like different founders come from PayPal. And I can tell you that both PayPal's business model and how the teams function with PayPal could be a lot better. And I could see this coming from a mile away just by working at the company, being there. It's for those of you who are not like into like finance or stocks or investing that much, this is like in an unprecedented sort of like wild event where it's really, really rare for a company to change CEOs in general. It's even rare for them to be ousted. It's even rare for them to be ousted within only like 2.5 years. And then also the previous CEO was ousted in favor of this one. So a lot of, I guess, like drama. I can guarantee you that it's probably not going to be said at all, but there are inner workings and drama going on behind the scenes, and that definitely does not bode well. And I think that if PayPal were to become a growth company again, they're going to have to completely reimagine their business model, because there is no more growth in what we like to call the bottom of the funnel. And bottom of the funnel is basically your like generalized like transactions. And this is the reason why PayPal acquired Honey, because they're trying to go to the top of the funnel. And as you see like the tech landscape today, most fintech companies are being absorbed and aggregated and consolidated because they solve for one specific use case, maybe like banking or credit cards or, you know, cashback or whatever it may be. And they get slowly gobbled up. And finance in itself is like a very like slow moving, slow growth industry in general. But my prediction, and take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, I don't work at PayPal anymore. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not an investment advisor. Do not make any trades or spend your money or invest based on what I'm saying here. This is purely for entertainment. PayPal definitely has a long road ahead of them. It's definitely a stock to watch, especially now that Buy Now Pay Later, which Affirm and Klarna and Afterpay have basically like captured all the market share for, is going to be a really, really hard uphill battle to climb. And I think it's a stock to watch for sure. Like not to invest in it at all, but a stock to watch, because I think that they seem to be in trouble, even from like a management perspective, which is interesting to say. So, all right. I hope everyone has a great day today. Thank you.